Hi, this is Dr. Dave, and in this video I want to show you how to do Technology Assignment 1 using Google Sheets. There's some new features in Google Sheets that we will use, and it will make creating your charts, your graphs, a lot easier. So the first thing you're going to need to do is go ahead and log into Google Drive with your Scholar email. And when you do that, you should be taken to a page that looks kind of like this, except there'll be a lot less stuff on your page. Down below, you should find a folder that has your team on it. And in my case, all the teams are down here in Fall 2017 under Math 212. Yours is going to look like one of these. If you don't see anything there, go ahead and click on the Shared with Me folder. That's where it will end up being. But sometimes it just appears right here. So I'm going to be working with Team 0 here. And inside Team 0, just like yours, there's going to be a Project 1. And you're going to see something that looks like Math 212, Project 1, Team, whatever your team number is. That's the one you're going to be working in. Right now, I'm going to work with a duplicate one so I can demonstrate what's going to go on in Technology Assignment 1. So let me go ahead and double click on that. And when it opens up, what you're going to see is a sheet that says Team Members, and it's going to have listed the members of your team and also my name right here. Next to that, there's a place for a team log where every time you work in this sheet and you make some changes, because everyone on your team can see this, you want to make sure your teammates know where you're at. So you want to go ahead and document that. Our goal in Technology Assignment 1 is to end up with a tab, kind of like this one. This one's called T1, Grazer Demo. You will call yours T1, whatever your last name is. You don't need to put the demo part on. And inside of that, you're going to have the data that was assigned to your team, a graph over here that's going to be a graph of cost, and then a graph down below that's going to be the average cost. Now, the first thing I want to make sure you understand is each team has a different set of data, what's in these first two columns. In order for you to find your data, you want to go to the project letter in the Projects module, open up the letter that was assigned to you, and then go ahead and copy that stuff down because that's what you're going to put into your Google Sheet. You're not going to be using the data that you see here. So once you're ready to start, you'll go ahead and you're going to click the plus icon right here. That creates a new sheet for you, and you'll go ahead and change the name here by double clicking on it and changing it to T1 underscore whatever your last name is. This helps me to identify exactly who you are. Now you're going to want to go ahead and put on your titles, your headings for your columns. So the first one is units, and that's for your toasters. So here we'll put the cost in dollars. We'll go over to C1 and put in the average cost, and that'll be in dollars per toaster. Now when I click outside of this, you'll see that it runs out of the cell. We can fix that by selecting the cell, going up to Format, down to Text Wrapping, and tell it to wrap the text. And that makes it fit all inside of that cell. You could also go ahead and go to the edge here and make the column a little bit bigger. That could also work. But once I have that, I'm going to go over to this button and I'm going to align this so it's centered. So that looks a little bit nicer. And I could do the same thing with my other cells. I could center them also. Now I need to just go ahead and find my project letter, put the data in that was assigned to me. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So now that my data's in, I want to go ahead and make a scatter plot of those two columns. So go ahead and click on A1, drag your mouse button down to B18. Notice that it's gone ahead and selected all of this because I was holding my mouse button down as I dragged. Now go up to Insert and say Chart. I can go to the top of this, hold my mouse button down and drag it over. I can go to the edge of it and grab these bars and even change the size of it a little bit. However, the first thing you should notice is this is the wrong graph. This is not a scatter plot as I wanted. To change that, go over to where it says Chart Type, select Line Chart, and then scroll down and find the correct chart type, which was a scatter plot. Now we're starting to get a graph that looks kind of like what we want. So now let's go ahead and play with how this graph looks, and to do that we're going to go over to Customize. You can see there's various things here we can customize. The first thing, let's look at chart and axes titles. So I'm going to go to the chart title, which is along the top here, and remember this is my cost of my toasters, so maybe under title I might select here and just say cost of toasters. If I select on the horizontal axis title, I could put under here, I could say units, toasters. I could then go down to vertical axis title and put the cost in dollars. Click outside of that. Now we're starting to get a graph that looks pretty darn good. However, I want to make some more changes. Commonly, you might want to go ahead and change this window. To do that, let's go ahead and pick either the horizontal or vertical axis, double click on it, and that will go ahead and open up the chart editor here to whatever you need to change. In this case, it's the horizontal axis, and I'm going to change the minimum and maximum. So I'm going to go from 900 to 1300. Click outside of it and it updates the graph automatically. I'm pretty happy with the way the vertical axis is here, but if I were to double click on that, it would allow me to change the minimum and maximum on my vertical axis. Now let's go over and double click on the legend here. And in this case, I really don't need a legend. It's just a single set of data. So I'm going to click on the position and say none. So that's a pretty good looking graph right now. It's got axes labels, it's got a title, and what I'd like you to do is make sure that you have axes labels, title. They don't have to be the exact same ones as these, and in fact I encourage you to play with this. Maybe try changing the color of these symbols or what they look like, or maybe the background. That can all be done within the chart editor. Now once you're happy with that graph, we want to go ahead and make another graph. This graph is going to have the units versus the average cost per toaster. But before we can do that, we need to actually calculate out what the average cost per toaster is. So click on cell C2, type equals, because we're going to be doing a computation here. We're going to click on the cost. We're going to divide it by the units. Press enter, and it's just gone ahead and calculate out that it's 9.13 dollars per toaster. Now clearly I don't need all those decimal places, so let me click on that and then go up to the button here that decreases the number of decimal places, and I'm going to go all the way back down to 2, so it's dollars and cents. I want to apply that same calculation to every single one of these cells, so go up and grab this little box here that's called the fill handle. Hold your mouse down and drag. That fills all of those with that calculation. So what it's gone ahead and done is divided cost by units for each one of these rows. Now that we do that, we need to graph column A and column C in a new graph. So to do that, I'm going to click on cell A1. While holding the mouse button down, I'm going to drag it down to A18. And now this is real critical. I'm going to hold the control button down on the keyboard, click on C1, And now while holding the mouse button down, I'm going to drag down to C18. Notice how it's selected the two columns that I want to graph. Now go up to Insert, Chart. Again, it puts in a chart type that is not the one that I want. So I'll go over here and look for Scatter again. Grab that, drag it down a little bit, make it a little smaller, and things are starting to look pretty good. One of the things you'll notice is typically when you have made a graph and you've added something to on the previous one, on the next one, a lot of the time it'll do it for you automatically. So it's gone ahead and put those labels on automatically for me. If I need to change the title here, which I probably should, double click on it, and then we'll just go in here, type average cost of toasters, or something like that. Click outside of it, looks pretty good. If I want to get rid of the legend, as I did before, double click on it, and then say none. Remember, I had a horizontal axis from 900 to 1300. Let's do the same thing here so they kind of match up. And so under minimum, I'll put 900. Under maximum, 1300. So now the labels that I have down here match the labels I have up here. It's easier to compare those two things. What you'll notice about the two graphs is here, as the number of toasters produced goes up, the cost goes up, which makes sense. It gets more and more expensive to make more and more toasters. However, the average cost per toaster is dropping. And those are the two things that we want to have in this particular technology assignment. So make sure that you have all the key pieces up here that we've talked about. Make sure that you label it T1 underscore your last name. And then once you're done, you don't need to do anything. Just leave it in your shared folder. Since I have that folder shared with me also, I can go in and grade it. And then I will leave you and your team feedback in that same folder in a Google Doc.